Hello and welcome to our living room for yet another episode of Hymns from Home. Today our hymn in focus has a number of interesting connections. One with a composer from the Reformation who spent a little time in jail, another with Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, and yet another connection with numerous very well-known composers including Johann Sebastian Bach. So let's dive in. Old 100 is one of the best known melodies in the Christian musical tradition. It was written by Renaissance composer and theorist Louis Bourgeois. He is most famous for being one of the main compilers of Calvinist hymn tunes in the middle of the 16th century following the Reformation. Louis Bourgeois is the one most responsible for the tunes in the Genevan Psalter, and the Genevan Psalter is really important to us as Episcopalians because it is the source for the hymns of both the Reformed Church in England and the Church of Pilgrims in America. Around the age of 37, Bourgeois was granted citizenship in Geneva, and in that same year he also published his first four-voice psalms. Unfortunately, he fell foul with the local authorities and was sent to prison for changing the tunes for some well-known psalms without a license. Who knew you had to have a license to change the psalm tunes? He was released on the personal intervention of John Calvin, but the controversy continued. Those who had already learned the tunes had no desire to learn new ones. Sound familiar? And so news of this controversy reached members of town council who ordered the burning of Bourgeois' books and instructions to singers because they were too confusing. And shortly thereafter, Bourgeois left Geneva, never to return. So now we fast forward a little bit in music history, and we find that many great household names have used Old 100th as inspiration for some of their compositions or arrangements of this wonderful tune. And some of those composers include Paul Hindemith, Benjamin Britten, Johann Sebastian Bach, Ralph Vaughan Williams, Felix Mendelssohn, and Henry Purcell. And so here's a quick look at and a listen to how Bach uses this tune in one of his cantatas, Cantata 130. Another example of that same hymn arranged for brass, choir, and organ by English composer Ralph Vaughan Williams for the Queen's coronation in 1953 at Westminster Abbey. here's a fascinating factoid. The very first piece of music transmitted during Alexander Graham Bell's demonstration of the telephone to the American Academy of Science, held in Boston in May of 1876, was the hymn tune, Old 100th.
You are my heart, Alexander Graham Bell.
And now let's talk a little bit about the text and who wrote the text. Isaac Watts is a pivotal figure in the history and story of our hymns. Watts became the creator of the modern English hymn as contrasted to the medieval office hymns and the Reformation metrical hymns. Many of his best hymns were written in his early 20s, before he began his ministerial career and after his father challenged him to improve the standard of praise. He wrote over 600 hymns in his lifetime. Besides this hymn, From All That Dwell Below the Skies, Sir Isaac Watts wrote 2 other hymns that are part of our Episcopal Hymnal 1982, O God Our Help in Ages Past, and When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, of course, both much loved and well-known hymns. Hymn 380 paraphrases Psalm 117. The 3rd verse is the doxology, and it was written by former Archbishop Ken Thomas, and it first appeared in the hymnal 1916. Its matching with this tune, the Old 100th, is both firm and constant.